Prehistoric life is extremely interesting, although many of its records are a great mystery. But the problem with these investigations is the difficulty of finding specimens in perfect states. We only theorize about their customs and even their physical appearances. But their skeletons warn us of one thing. They were giant animals that if they were still alive today, they'd be real monsters. Today, we'll show you 5 of the biggest animals to have ever roamed the planet. Before we begin, make sure you hit the subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Quetzalcoatlus. Next, we'll introduce you to the largest flying animal that has inhabited the planet Earth. It's called Quetzalcoatlus, a name that is inherited from the Aztec deity and means the feathered serpent. It lived in this world during the Upper Cretaceous in North America around 66 to 68 million years ago. It used to inhabit the interior area of the lakes since its diet was based on large quantities of fish. Although it was a scavenger animal, it used to devour remains of dead dinosaurs. It had no teeth to do so. Although on rare occasions it devoured the offspring of other dinosaurs, such as Tyrannosaurus or Triceratops. You'll find it funny to know that once it had a full stomach, it could not fly. Hopefully, it wasn't surprised by a mother noticing how it devoured her children. It also fed on some birds, although this was very complicated for them because these birds possessed feathers and went easily into the woods. It had a very long beak, with which it lifted the small prey from the ground. Its neck was stiff and unusually long. Its bones were welded to its skull. The last one was 1.2 meters long. Its hind legs, in contrast to its wings, were very short. The Quetzalcoatlus needed strong currents of wind to be able to suspend themselves in the air. Their wings were huge. This is because their small bodies weighed 150 kilograms, which means they were at the maximum limit to fly. It had hollow bones, which decreased the weight. Its wings were the evolutionary result of the prolongation of a membrane that ran from its fourth finger to the side of its trunk. When it walked on the ground, it supported most of the weight on its hind legs, causing somewhat amusing movements. This was the only way they had to balance their body. The most surprising thing about this dinosaur is its sense of life. Its eye measured 10 centimeters in diameter and had 100,000 optic nerves, which means it had a view 4 times better than any human being. As if that wasn't enough, this animal was able to see ultraviolet rays. If you're wondering what that skill was for, we inform you that urine reflects this type of light. A strange but very useful way to hunt their prey. Would you like to have been able to fly over a dinosaur like this? No doubt it would have been wonderful. Number 4. Liopleurodon. Liopleurodon was a large carnivorous and marine reptile. In Latin, its name meant teeth of smooth sides. During the Middle Jurassic era, around 160 to 155 million years ago, 2 species of Liopleurodon lived on the planet. However, only one of them reached the Upper Jurassic in Europe. It was a super predator of 6.39 meters in length. Its tail was short and wasn't divided in 2 at the end. It wasn't of a caudal shape. However, it had a fin in each of its 4 extremities. In this way, it was easier for it to change the course of its swim or increase the speed of its movement, reaching up to 45 kilometers per hour. It had 2 nostrils that were small in comparison to its enormous size. This could mean it breathed through his mouth. Given that it was too big to leave the sea, it reproduced through eggs. It could weigh up to 50 tons. You'll be surprised to learn their diet was very varied. It could be fed on fish, turtles, sharks, or other dinosaurs of small sizes. However, the rare occasions when it left the sea, it died almost instantly and ended up being, ironically, the food of other dinosaurs. Of course, these predators had to wait for the beast to be actually dead. Otherwise, they would be devoured by the Liopleurodon. As you have imagined, they lived in the open sea because the shallow seas were synonymous with stranding. This animal was very territorial, although very lonely for its ferocity. It could even be aggressive with others of the same species, coming to have very large hunting territories. This last feature may be compared with the current orcas. It'll let you know the Liopleurodon lived all over the world. Nobody wanted to be in the presence of creatures like this, which would mean battling in a brutal death. The loser would end up being dinner for the sharks. When it was time to mate, females swam freely in areas governed by males, but they only came to procreate with the males that were really good. The young would grow up with the mother until they could fend for themselves, but only 1 out of 10 could reach adulthood. Its extinction arrived 145 million years ago, and today there are only traces of its passage through the earth. Can you imagine a beast like this still inhabiting our seas? They seem more fearsome than any other white shark. Number 3. Rhamphorhynchus. Halfway through our countdown, we have a crocodile's relative who is probably the largest in the world, the Rhamphorhynchus, a reptile that used to feed on aquatic mammals and large fish. It had an elongated mouth with many sharp and conical teeth. However, these were very weak. They came to believe they could measure between 15 and 18 meters long. but with recent studies, they've determined their average size was between 8 and 11 meters. It's believed its main habitat was the Ganges River, the only river that was large enough to accommodate animals as giant as this one, although recent records of several fossils were found in the Indian subcontinent of Miocene. In spite, only incomplete remains are preserved where most of them are teeth and jaws. From there, it has been likely to determine its possible volume and size. It's very difficult for us to imagine such a large crocodile. We feel sorry for all those animals that once crossed this monster's path, especially if they didn't have the physical abilities to face it. We hope one day more discoveries can be made about this animal and in this way determine exactly who finally gets the largest title. For the rest, we have to resign ourselves to the speculation of the scientists. Paleontologists have estimated this has been one of the largest, if not the biggest, crocodile that has ever lived. Although the Purosaurus, another crocodile of incomplete remains, is fighting for the title. This will be for a long time an unsolved mystery. Would you like to watch a movie about this animal one day? It may not be the most beautiful reptile, but there's no doubt it's one of the most interesting that ever existed. We love all the mystery that revolves around them, don't you? Number 2. Leviathan melville. The Leviathan melville is an extinct species of mammals that inhabited the seas of Peru. Their fossils were found in the Pisco Desert of the Ica region. An intact 75% of his skull and large jaw fragments, as well as several teeth, have been found, and the largest were 36 centimeters long. Although there are records of longer teeth, such as the walrus or the elephant, these last ones don't use them to feed themselves or hunt. His bite is the largest that could be documented. Its head measured about 3 meters. It had a curved base that housed a large organ that allowed it to dive in the water in search of food. Although most likely it would capture large prey near the surface. This organ probably helped it in echolocation, which means the organ worked as a resonance chamber. But it can't be ruled out that it used this area to hit other males during the mating season. You'll be surprised to know its total length was from 13.5 to 17.5 meters. It's believed they lived 12 or 13 million years ago, and its closest relative today is the sperm whale. Although the oldest of these had teeth in both jaws. As you can imagine, the Leviathan were aggressive predators that probably fought in the oceans with the megalodons. Can you imagine having witnessed one of these colossal battles? These beasts were the supermarine predators of their time. The most reasonable thing is to think it had an important role in the structures of the aquatic communities. It's even believed this animal hunted baleen whales, which measured 10 meters in length. It could have also been the fear of most seals and dolphins. This is a newly discovered species. It wasn't until 2008 its remains were found. If you're interested in getting to know them, you must travel to the South American country since they're in the Natural History Museum of Peru. TheFinestPost, the researcher who found them, stumbled by chance on the skull of the Leviathan after a long day of work. This is just one of the museums with a long list of jobs that Post has developed. He also has discoveries in cities such as Paris, Utrecht, Pisa, Lima, and Belgium. Can you imagine all the secrets that can be discovered if more data appears about this species? It is a worthy opponent to the largest shark in the world. Number 1. Sauroposeidon. The dinosaur coming next, you probably know it. It's called Sauroposeidon. In Greek, it means the lizard god of earthquakes. For a long time, only incomplete fossils of the species had been found in the U.S. states of Oklahoma, Wyoming, and Texas. Studies have shown that the last ones of this species that inhabited the Earth were in the Lower Cretaceous era, about 40 million years ago. However, the last one that existed in America had 4 vertebrae, having smaller sizes than their ancestors and on a smaller world scale. You'll find it a little funny to know that, at the time of its discovery by man in 1994, its fossils were mistakenly identified as wood. But 5 years later, it was learned its nature was different. This caused a lot of commotion in the media. What is known so far is that the Sauroposeidon was an herbivore and could grow up to 38 meters long, earning the title of the highest dinosaur in the world. It was very robust and heavy, so it didn't have natural predators. Of course, things changed if they were hunted by other dinosaurs that operated in herds. In this way, they were easy prey. The neck bones were an average of 1.4 meters long, extremely long. Some giraffes would be embarrassed next to it. These dinosaurs took 25 years to reach their maximum size and 2 years to weigh a ton. Although ironically, they were born in eggs the size of a soccer ball. As you can imagine, they needed tons of food a day, and they drank about 120 liters of water. Therefore, it's common that you could find them at the edge of forests or rivers. Obviously, since they lived in large groups, they could finish a forest in a week. This is one of the most loved dinosaurs by the public and the cinema. The films that usually portray the life of dinosaurs usually revolve around the Sauroposeidon, as is the case of the Pixar animated film The Good Dinosaur. Do you love them too? When you see them in detail, you'll feel empathy. Unlike many large dinosaurs, this wasn't a beast feared by all. Alright, Top Fivers, if you haven't already, make sure to visit our other channel, The Brilliant, for even more interesting list videos that'll blow your mind. But I'm warning you, the videos over on The Brilliant are extremely addicting to watch as well. There'll be a link in the description to the channel, so make sure to come and visit us. Or you can go to our latest video popping up on screen right now. Oh, and have you visited TheFinestPost.com to enjoy the most amazing articles you'll ever get to read?